The Connector Next Door is your invitation to meet the natural connectors all around us. They represent the everyday event planners who are energizing their communities every single day. Their stories are familiar, fun, and full of charm. Your host, Lisa Garrow, is a lifelong event planner and has been a connection strategy coach for over a decade. She knows events can become energized connecting points where communities can gather and grow. Let's listen in as she strikes up a conversation with today's Connector Next Door.
Never one to fit into any sort of mold, Joseph or JD Dubois has always followed the urge to get out and see the world. JD has been riding motorcycles since he was a young man and still loves to soak in the landscapes and experience other cultures from the seat of his bike. He's always loved riding, referring to a good ride as throttle therapy. But as he grew older and got deeper into riding, JD found a home in the biker brotherhood and culture. In researching and writing his graduate degree thesis, JD became immersed in one of the most rewarding experiences of his life. It's what led him to start his passion project, Freedom Biker Tours, based out of Alberta, Canada. JD's professional life has been spent working in travel, tourism, and hospitality since he was a teenager. Skillfully driving through the curves and bumps of entrepreneurship, JD continues to operate a tourism consulting firm, Dubois Hospitality Group. When JD dons a suit, it's usually in the role as the longtime trusted, tenacious sales manager for the Kenrick Hotel in the heart of Banff, Alberta, Canada. It was in his role at the Kenrick that we met, and I was inspired by his passion for life. I'm so glad you will get to know him too through our conversation today. Welcome everyone to the Connector Next Door and to a special conversation. I always say it's a special conversation because I meet some of the most amazing people all over the world. But right now we are in town in Calgary, near the Rocky Mountains here in Canada. And I am so happy, Joseph, JD.
Whatever you prefer.
Welcome here to the conversation on the Connector Next Door.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You and I got to know each other over the last few months, and we had a chance to sit down. And one of the coolest things about getting to know you personally is you have so many, not just balls in the air, but you have so many passions that you're living out. You have been in events and hospitality and in gathering people together in all sorts of different ways for so long. And we're going to dive into a lot of that as we get into this conversation. But before we start, I always ask everyone that comes on, for some people, it is a bit of a surprise question, hopefully not for you. And I think it's going to be easy for you to answer. But the question is, what does connection mean to you? Or the word connection, what does that mean to you?
Okay. Well, that's when somebody asks me a question like that, my initial response, if I really want to dive into it, is that's a 6-beer story. So I hope you got it exactly. But connection to me is human to human, interpersonal connection, being your authentic self. Forget phones, and here we are talking on computers. I mean, but at least we're on a video conference, right? We're on a Zoom call. But connection to me is, and I apply this with the other part of my life, which is the motorcycle tour company, and people are so appreciative of it, and they say that to me all the time. I want to talk to other human beings. I want to connect face to face, verbally, to other human beings. I don't, email is part of our life. Texting is part of our life. Those are cold mediums. They can be warmed up, and I've always been told that I'm pretty good at doing that, professional correspondence, writing, that kind of stuff. But still, they remain a cold medium to a certain extent. There is no exception for effective human-to-human contact. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, in the human-to-human contact, I think sometimes we forget, especially in a role where you have a marketing sales background, you're amazing at promoting not just the formal work that you do, but also your entrepreneurial venture of Freedom Biker Tours. We sometimes, and this might be a little bit old school. I used to do sales and marketing sort of in that 80s, 90s time of life. And it was very transactional. And I kept being told it's a numbers game. I guess intuitively, I kept pushing back, thinking it's about the people. If I don't know the people, if I'm not able to be in front of somebody and actually have a real conversation with them, I'm missing a whole chunk of who they are as a person and if this is even a fit for them. How have you learned to reconcile that over your career as somebody that has been in hospitality and sales and marketing, where in the past it really did feel like, and maybe you didn't feel that as much as I did, but where it did feel like it was more of a transaction and then coming with something different and new and more authentic in that kind of environment?
Many, many, many years ago, I worked for a Western Canadian hotel chain, and they had, more than 20 properties. And I was responsible for a particular market segment for the entire chain, all by myself, just me. And
Mm,
I worked for them for 8 years, and I inherited a certain level of volume and revenue from my market segment from my predecessor. I tripled it over the 8 years that I was there. Throughout that time, I I did it my way. That's where I really, really found my authentic self and really, really realized who I am and who I need to be to not only be successful, but be happy in my
mm,
work and my life and my life work balance. I always had people in the, I was mid-level executive management, and I always had the upper executives, a lot of them telling me, you shouldn't do it that way. And you shouldn't be socializing or spending time with this person. They're not good for your reputation, or, comments like that. And I disregarded those comments and I went ahead and did it anyway. And proof's in the pudding, right?
mm,
I tripled the business. But not only that is the relationships that I developed in the hospitality, tourism, travel industry are still with me today. And the lessons that I learned are still here with me today. And I finally left that company because a lot of the executives, including the president, were, how I say, they were do as I say, not as I do type of leaders,
mm,
right? And
mm,
I just can't work for somebody like that.
mm-hmm.
I
And what is it when you were saying that you found yourself and how you could do it differently? If you got that kind of pushback, how were you able to navigate to continue? You said the proof's in the pudding. You tripled that
Well, the
business.
results, the numbers
Yeah.
supported me, right?
Mm,
Plus, I've always been told that I'm a pretty energetic guy. That when I walk into a room, my my presence fills the room, kind of thing. People have always told me that, since I, got through my 20s and really found myself personally and professionally. And some people have misinterpreted that as arrogance and overconfidence and all that. But I'm here to tell you that I have my insecurities and my worries and concerns just like everybody else, right? I'm
mm,
not a super confident, arrogant human being. I guess I just project that, and I don't mean to do it. And I've really worked over the years at trying to dumb it down a little bit, I guess, and be softer and that kind of thing. And I think it's worked, but I just went ahead and did what I really believed was right, and the numbers supported it. And I kind of think I'm a fun guy, so my personality kind of helped
mm.
well, right?
I can totally imagine you 20, 30 years ago, or however long that was, where there is that feeling of people want to have a good time, right? They want somebody that's going to step up and say that there's something more for them, or that there's a place for them in a new venture, in what you're trying to quote unquote sell. And I think we sometimes forget, or we get lazy in how we're communicating, because you say you had dumbed it down, but maybe some of that is just finding the nuance, right? And finding the people that you love to work with. And in a course that I was putting together in this last year, and you've contributed a bit to that, we were talking a little bit about that humanity in the transaction. And I think what you're describing here is exactly that. It's saying, it's not just about the numbers or the people or the cost or the room rate or whatever it is that you're selling. It's working with people that you could have a long-term, granted, they may not be there forever, but a long-term relationship or potential for them to be part of things that you're doing. And I would guess maybe even other things that you're venturing into, it opens the door where they can be part of other things as well. Have you noticed that over the years?
I have. And there's a band out there, I think it's called Econoline Crush, and they have a song called You Get What You Give. And that since that song came out, it's always in the back of my mind, and it's on my playlist on my iPod for when I go to the gym and work out and all that, and I play it when I ride my motorcycles. And it's like that's exactly it. You get what you give. So,
Mhm.
people will respond to someone that is energetic and charming and witty, and they'll remember you and they'll want to do business with you because you're fun. And again, they remember you, and you're easy to establish a relationship with, right? And coupled with that is your honesty, your authenticity, and they start to trust you. And as long as you don't ever break that trust, those people are going to be your friends, your colleagues forever.
I love that.
Well, I've got people that I've known, like for instance, for the Kenrick Hotel,
Mhm.
I'm going to a conference in Manitoba that's called Rendezvous Canada. It's the largest tourism conference in the world. Anywhere from 2 to 3,000 delegates go, and it's people from all over the world that come to Canada with whether it's bus tours or other types of packages, and it's all Canadian hotels, attractions, suppliers, restaurants, media, all the destination marketing organizations. And for a week, we have meetings and we do business together and we rekindle our relationships and that kind of thing. And this year is my 27th
Oh
rendezvous.
my goodness.
Yeah. So I remember my first one back in
Wow.
1998 when I was the rookie guy and all these older fellows that I wasn't supposed to hang out with took me under their wing and they introduced me to this world and I'm so grateful to them. A lot of them have passed on now for various reasons or they've retired or whatever, but I remain so grateful to them for their teachings and for them taking me under their wing and mentoring me and
Hmm.
do that, right? And
And who in your, before you ever got into this, were there certain mentors that saw this in you, that charismatic, friendly, human focused person in there? Were there people that allowed you to be yourself on that journey and kind of mentor you where you eventually got to? And what did you say, 1998 was your
was my
first?
first rendezvous candidate. But but before that, in the early 90s, for 5 years, I worked for a company in Vancouver, in Richmond. It was a charter company. It did charter flights to Europe and that with different airlines like Nation Air and British Caledonian and Canada 3000 and all those guys. I'm dating myself big time here. But I was the sales manager there, and the owner of the company, Alan, if you're listening, I love you, brother. Alan Thompson, and he's British, and he started his career back with Ward Air back in the '60s, kind of thing, right? And Alan
Hmm.
is now he's probably 80, early 80s now or something, and he he was the guy. He was my first real mentor, and He said, Joseph, he goes, you got it. You are just one of these people that just it's built in you. You were born with it, you know.
Mm.
And he was an amazing individual, and he trusted me and he mentored me and he gave me that confidence to move up in this industry. Yeah, way before authenticity became the buzzword, knew it. He was part of that whole thing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And why hospitality? I'm curious. I don't know if I've ever asked you that question. Why did you choose that?
Well,
Or did it choose you, as some people might say?
kind of, yeah, it did. You know, of course, you know, a lot of kids when they're in high school, my first jobs were in restaurants when I was 15, 16 years old and restaurants. And then I went to bartending school and became a bartender, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, I wanted to get into the travel industry. I wanted to travel. I wanted to be in the airlines. So I did. I got a job working for a small commuter airline in Vancouver, and I became their reservation or their customer service manager in charge of all their reservations, their outer bases in Victoria and Campbell River and all that stuff. And then, but then because of certain internal pressures in the family, my father, after he left the Air Force, was an air traffic controller.
Mm.
Right? So I actually became an air traffic control assistant well,
Hmm.
during XO 86 when they were looking, and I went to the school there, and I did that job for a couple of years, but honestly, it was boring because I didn't have the human to human contact. I was sitting there looking at radar screens and dealing with other air traffic controllers in this dark dungeness space and all that and everything. Every once in a while, I got to work in the actual tower at the airport, which was cool. That was cool. But the rest of the time, I was in the area control center, and you know, it's all dark and ugh. So, but then Ward Air was hiring, Ward Air Canada, the airline was hiring in-flight service managers,
Hmm.
which was you're a flight attendant, but you're corporate management on the plane, right? You're the in
Okay.
you're the boss. Your boss is the captain. So I applied and they hired me.
Huh.
And I got to do that for a few years, but then of course Ward Air was sold to Pacific Western Corporation and went out of business, and that was that. But that really sort of got me going in the airline
Hmm.
industry. And then, you know, I went to work for AirBC for a while, and then I went to after that, the airline industry. I kind of realized that it wasn't a very stable career. If you look at the last 30 years, at all the different carriers that have come and gone and up and down and all that, I predicted it fairly well. Right.
Hmm.
So at
Yeah.
that point is when I realized I needed to move more into the mainstream travel industry. So I got into tour operators and travel agencies, and that's when I went to work for Alan Thompson and got into that arena. But then, you know, I left Skybridge Holidays, it was called. I left them and I went to work for another tour company called Jet Set Tours, which was based out of Australia with North American division based out of Los Angeles. But then it got gobbled up by some company out of Las Vegas and then it got shut down. And so things got kind of tumultuous there. And that's when I went, you know what? I need to sit down and kind of reevaluate. So I thought, what will really round out my career? Okay, well, I've done airlines, I've done travel agencies, I've done tour operators, hotels and resorts. That will really round out my career, right? That's when I applied at this other company that I worked for 8 years and they hired me. Boom.
Hmm.
And the rest is history. When I left them, that's when I went out into the entrepreneurial stage. And that's when
Wow.
I moved to the Okanagan. I bought an old dilapidated campground. I reinvented it, rebranded it, made it successful, started my own tourism consulting firm. And at its heyday, I had 15 hotels and resorts in my portfolio. And these guys, the Kenrick, were one of the hotels in a group of four in Banff that I've been with now going on 15 years.
Amazing. And you are right now, and let's tell those that are listening. So this is in Banff, Alberta, Canada. For those of you that are not in Canada, just one of the most beautiful places in the world. I am so thrilled that now I get to call it my backyard now that I've been living back in Calgary again. The Kenrick is a new vision of what was a hotel for several years there. You've been with them a long, long time. And so now not only sharing with people the value of the area, the beauty of what Banff and Kananaskis, Lake Louise, all that is to explore. But the hotel itself is going through its own reimagining and renovations right now. So what's happening right now? It's now called the Kendrick Hotel. So can you tell us a little bit about your role in that and how exciting? It must be very exciting for you to have all those changes.
The Kenrick is an independent, non-branded, family-owned hotel. It's the former High Country Inn. That's been around a long, long, long time, and it's a family-owned property. And the vision for the Kenrick started with the son of one of the two owners. The two owners are family. They're related by marriage. One fellow married the other guy's sister, and then they've had their children. And so the one fellow that is the visionary behind this, and he's quite the visionary behind the Kenrick, and then there's his cousin who is there with him as well. And the Kenrick is going to be the most upscale, modern boutique hotel experience in Banff. And it's going to be opening. I don't think, it'll be 100% finished until probably sometime this summer, with all the I's dotted and T's crossed. But it's definitely a completely different product than what it was before at the High Country Inn. There's a lot of added features and benefits. There's the restaurant, the Fat Ox of Banff, which opened last summer, which is in the hotel serving Alpine Italian cuisine. And I'm telling you, the food is amazing. One of my motorcycle tour groups that stays in Banff at the hotel for a couple of nights. Last year, we were the first group dinner that the Fat Ox of Banff did before they even opened. It was like a week before they officially opened, especially for us. And oh yeah, it was unbelievable food, and the way they served it, family style for us and everything. So and then we're going to have things like in the lobby. We're going to have I can't divulge the brand of the coffee company that's going to be in there, but we're going to have a cafe in the lobby. And the pool is all being redone into kind of like a spa area with hot tubs and cold pools and all that. So and there's going to be room service in the hotel, and just an unbelievable experience. Anybody that comes to Banff, they're going to be able to stay at the Kenrick, and they don't have to go anywhere else. They need it right there.
It has a warm place in my heart because we have had our Candy Event Consulting. We have a fall retreat a couple of times for a couple of years already. And it was as the Banff Country Inn. So that was something that was special to me to meet you then personally. And I think what drew us even before the renovations was the willingness of the owners and the people I was talking to have that conversation and to make accommodations and to really see the vision of what I was trying to create through this retreat. It's called The Ultimate. And so it is one of those really special places in Banff where it is walkable downtown. There's so much happening in Banff. And for those of you that haven't been, what a great opportunity for you to have a great stay and to be with somebody that you really get what people need, and you're there to create the whole experience, not just to have a room to rent and have a place to swim. There's so much more to it. Yeah.
Family really believes in that human to human contact and going the extra mile and delivering beyond expectations. They really do. I've known these people now 15 years, and it's there's nobody else I would want to work for than that family and the rest of the management team. They're the only hotel I'm going to have in my consulting firm's portfolio moving forward. I don't want clients, really.
I can't wait to see it. And what's so funny is when you say, not funny, but when you say it's the only company you want to work for, you also are carrying your own venture, and you've taken what you've learned in the hospitality world and your personal love of motorcycle riding and biking. There's so many parallels to how you show up and what you've brought into Freedom Biker Tours. Again, where did that shift happen for you, where you just felt like now it is time to add that to, I'll say, to having some fun with your own personal entrepreneurial venture?
Well, one of the reasons why I love the guys at the Kenrick so much is because, they don't see it as competition. They
Mm,
actually see it as me being my entrepreneurial self, my authentic self, and everything that I bring to the table from my career and my education. They see it as a benefit to
mm-hmm.
the hotel, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm able to pursue both my passions. One is the hotel, and one is Freedom Biker Tours, right? So
Yeah.
what
So
happened
tell
was,
us a little bit, yeah, about the Freedom Biker Tours.
well, 10 years ago, well, actually 12 years ago now, in 2013, I made two pretty critical decisions in my life. One was I wanted a divorce. And
Okay, big.
yeah. And at the same time, I wanted to pursue my third post-secondary educational accreditation, which was a graduate degree, a master's degree in tourism management. So yeah, so Freedom Biker Tours, like I said, I started a graduate degree in 2013, which is my third post-secondary educational pursuit. And it was funny, the first day, it was at Royal Roads University on Vancouver Island. And the first day, they asked us, so okay, here are all the modules. Here's what you got to do over the next 2.5 years. And then the last thing you need to do is you need to do this graduate research project. You can either do a full-on research project paper, or you can do a smaller paper with some actual work with a company or something. And I said, well, I'll do a paper and all that. And they said, okay, so what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do something about motorcycle tourism and biker culture. And they went, that's the coolest thing anybody's ever done, they said, right? And one of the professors, who is still a friend of mine to this day and is a motorcyclist, he actually ended up being my supervising prof for my paper, right? So
Ah,
we had so much fun together doing this. So I wrote my master's thesis on understanding motorcycle tourism through a study of biker culture. And through that labor of love, a lot of things woke up in me. A lot of things.
hmm.
Um, you know, I've been riding motorcycles since I was a teenager, but I realized that there was a business opportunity, first of all, because there's no Canadian owned and operated motorcycle tour company that's promoting Canada on the international stage as a motorcycle touring destination. Nobody,
Hmm.
Canada.
Wow.
So that's a business opportunity. But then I also realized through all that studying, I realized the therapeutic and healing benefits of motorcycling. That's a real thing. And there's a lot of studies out there. It's called throttle therapy.
Hmm.
Some people call it wind therapy or whatever, right? But I really started to understand that. And that's when I really dove into the whole Harley Davidson biker culture. And I looked at all that stuff, how motorcycling originated after the Second World War and the veterans and combating PTSD and why they rode together to get that camaraderie back that they had during combat and understanding all of that. And I was like, wow, like this is just amazing. And so I really dove into the whole culture, and I became a life member of Harley Owners Group in Canada, Harley Davidson Owners Group. And I have never met or been involved with a kinder, more human, more authentic, more generous group of people than people in the motorcycle culture. Never
Hmm.
have I ever come across that. And they're my brothers and sisters. I love them. They're amazing people. And riding a motorcycle for me traveling out there and all that, it's my happy place. It really is.
Hmm.
I have two happy places. One is riding on motorcycles, and one is being with my fiance Carmen. Those are my happy.
What of it spoke to you where you could be
I'm trying to let you see that.
find your freedom?
Yeah.
For those of you that are just listening to this, his backdrop is the beautiful, I'm guessing, Rocky Mountains with some motorcycle. There's a black and white shot there of some motorcycles on the highway, and it says "Find your freedom." So, how did all of this help you, Joseph, find your own authentic freedom?
Well, interestingly enough, I was involved in a project because I owned a campground and RV park in the Okanagan, and we were in the middle of getting it developed and building a bunch of townhomes on it and everything. And I had a partner at the time, and a week a week after I handed in my paper, and a month or two later was going to be graduation, and the master's was done. A week after I handed in the paper, we got clobbered in a very serious motorcycle accident. The
Mm,
distracted driver. It was the other person's fault, and it was my passenger was very seriously hurt. I was hurt, but thankfully no broken bones. But I have chronic issues, neck, shoulder, back, that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, the people that we were going into partnership with to do the project tried to take advantage of our compromised situation and steal the project and steal the land. And it was a very long and traumatic 2-year legal battle. And eventually I won, because, I mean, I was in the right, but it was emotionally, physically, and financially traumatizing for me, big
mm,
time. And, Carmen always says to me, she goes, "This is one of the reasons why I love you so much." She goes, "Because you know what you did? You got right back in the saddle and started a motorcycle tour company after that
mm,
and rebuilt your life, right?" So that's what it did for me, right? That's what motorcycling has done for me. That's what, building Freedom Biker Tours, and also, you know, working in the hospitality industry, working for the guys at the Kenrick, there's a certain level of you need to do what you need to do. I have a boss and who I respect big time. I do anything for the guy, and that, but there was always this part of me that wanted to do something on my own as well, right? So that's
mhm.
Freedom Biker Tours. That's my other passion, right? The hotel industry is one passion. The motorcycling and having my own little niche market tour company is my other passion. And nobody tells me what to do. The market conditions tell me what to do, and that kind of thing. And that, but the learning is, I always used to say after the
Yeah.
graduate degree, I'm never going back to school. Like that's it. School is a 4-letter word to me from now on. It's stricken from my vocabulary. But here I am. I'm still in school as
Yeah,
an entrepreneur. I don't think you're ever out of school as an entrepreneur,
right.
right?
It's a lifelong journey, and it sounds like you have a lifelong family that is going to be with you. And, whatever you do,
Yeah.
I think they're probably coming from all different perspectives and lifestyles and how people get into ride. I don't ride a motorcycle myself. My sister does. But the way she talks about, especially the gals she knows and rides with, it is family. And there is a certain amount of acceptance and care, and what they show each other is what's possible.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, led her to explore her own background, and she's done tours through the States and across Canada, and looking at where's her background and what will bring her to a space of freedom as well. So what a beautiful story that is for you to go through that personally, and to be entering into this world and actually creating some foundation for connection on bikes. And really the work that we do here at Candy and through the Connection Architect program, we talk a lot about the foundation of connection. So any meeting, event, experience you plan really does have to have that foundation of connection first. Mm-hmm. So when you think of where you're going now in the next 5 or 10 years, how are you starting to build through your business or through the work that you're doing? The idea of actually starting with connection. What is the most important to you that is just non-negotiable for you that you want to build into these tours?
Non-negotiable. Well, it's got to do with our vision, our purpose, our values. You know, one of the big things I really it's our messaging, and I'm really hoping that, you know, people that come on our tours share the same values and the same perspective on the world that I do. And that's that we've lost a lot of our humanity in these last years. And look what's going on in the world right now. It's getting even worse. And that's my message out there through Freedom Biker Tours and myself personally is that we need to turn that around, and we need to get back to our humanity and to connecting as human beings. And I think we talked about that a little bit earlier in this session, is the human to human contact. It's with so many people, and I hesitate to say the younger generation, but it's a fact. Technology with the younger generation, they're so reliant on it now, that they're losing their ability to connect, and, you know, human to human. And I think that's a very scary prospect for the future.
So as we're starting to wrap up this conversation up, this has been so fantastic. How can you share with us the mission, vision of Freedom Biker Tours? I know you were saying that you had done some writing in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I need to look it up. I need to look
You
it
can
up
look it up.
so I can
Absolutely.
read it.
I would love for people to hear what you're trying to accomplish through this. And as people are listening to this and are curious about what that would be for them, either to learn from your experience on something you are creating really from grassroots, from the ground up, or well, let's say from the pavement, that you are creating something pretty unique and special. Finding our mission, finding our vision, and being able to articulate that is such a big part of creating a community that understands what we're here for, who, not just who fits and who doesn't fit, but if I'm trying to find a community that matters to me, that has values that are aligned with my values. It's so important for anyone out there as you're building your event to find that space where you can certainly share what it is that you're about, and people can select or can have a dialogue around if that is something that is for them. And then, like we were saying, you're creating relationships and connections that will last long after a tour. You know, if they're taking one tour, it might be something where it is a lifelong friendship. So if you have it there, I would love to hear if you could articulate that for us.
I need to add in the same thing goes for the Kenrick Hotel as well. You know, I'm the sales manager for the hotel, and we have meeting room space there, as you know, and the ability to do conferences, meetings, events, all that kind of thing, and weddings, whatever the case may be. And that's the vision too, that the family is creating is a community, and the type of product and the type of experience that they're offering at the hotel when it's completely done is there's really nothing else like that in a small little boutique hotel in Banff, right?
Yeah.
The wording that I'm going to read to you is not the same as probably what they would say, but I really believe that the messaging behind it is the same. And then along with that too, it's a legacy project, this hotel, which I need to mention too. The patriarch of the family that started all these hotels and all that, he passed away probably 12 years ago or so. I met him a few times, and the Kenrick was actually the name of the first little hotel motel that he had in Banff back in the early 60s.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, and then if you look at the name of the small boardroom that we have that called the Cayuga, which is can be rented out, and that it apparently I think that was the street that the house that he had, the street in I think it was Calgary or maybe somewhere, and that he
Okay.
used that to leverage that house to leverage to get to buy the hotel, the
Oh
Kenrick,
my goodness.
whatever. So there's a lot of real legacy stuff, and that's what the family wanted to do. It's a and it's where legacy meets luxury is sort of the
Mm,
tagline that I have on my email signature, right? Because this
yeah.
is a very luxurious product that they're putting together. So. Um,
Amazing.
I'm very proud to work for this family and very excited about it. I actually moved to Calgary from the Okanagan in BC. Part of the reason was so I could be closer to be part of this once in a lifetime experience for someone like me in my career. This hotel is massively renovating, rebranding. I mean, this kind of an experience doesn't come along very often, right?
Exactly. Oh, they're so lucky to have you too.
Okay, so Freedom Biker Tours, our vision: to inspire and champion a message of freedom, brotherhood, and acceptance across the world by embracing authenticity, the therapeutic healing power of motorcycling, and the transformative experience of throttle therapy.
Oh, breathe that in like great mountain air.
Right. And then our purpose, we are dedicated to fostering a global community built on freedom, brotherhood, and acceptance by encouraging individuals to embrace their authentic selves. Through the therapeutic power of motorcycling and throttle therapy, we promote mental well-being, connection, and personal growth. Our mission is to inspire and support riders of all backgrounds, creating a culture of inclusivity and healing, one ride at a time.
Mm.
Right.
I could not think of a better way to end this conversation. And I know this is one conversation of many that you and I will have, and I'm sure many in our candy world. But the whole point of this podcast is for you, as you're listening, to be inspired, to find a way that you can find your own vision, your mission, and to start planning and promoting events with connections right at the foundation, right before you start planning anything. You really want to see that. And I love that you said that legacy piece. We're all looking for that connection to our past, but then bringing it into something that is meaningful and significant into the future. Any last thoughts, Joseph, before we wrap for today?
Yep. If you are
you going to share them with us, or?
Yeah, I will. If my message out there to anybody that's thinking of stepping out onto the entrepreneurial stage or on any level for any type of business, doesn't matter what it is, my message would be don't wait.
Mm.
Do it now. Don't buy into fear. You know the acronym FEAR, FEAR. I prefer to say face everything and rise.
Do
So
it now.
do it now.
Thanks, Joseph. So fantastic to have this conversation with you. Can't wait to send it out into the world. And thanks for taking the time to share a bit about your story.
Thank you, Lisa. It was a real pleasure to be here and look forward to talking to you again real soon. Take care.
The Connector Next Door podcast is produced by Candy Event Consulting, where everyday event planners and their teams gain clarity, get connected, and grow in confidence. Subscribe at www.candyconsulting.ca to hear visits with everyday event planners who are putting connections first.